Hi, everyone. I'm really excited to have Lucy Zhang here today to talk to you. She works for Feelunique, the European beauty e-retailer based out of Hong Kong and working on the China market. She's got a wealth of experience with brands going into China through cross-border e-commerce, and I'm really excited to have her here today. Hi, Lucy.
Hi, Ali.
So I guess today, what I really wanted to ask you about for the brands that are listening is a bit about how Feelunique works, first of all. How does Feelunique work in China? Because many of the brands probably know Feelunique from the European side of the business, but how does it work over here?
Yeah, sure. So our business model for China is through cross-border because most of the brands that we carry are cruelty-free. So we operate in China through our .cn site, which is in Mandarin, and the domain is hosted in China. So we're able to provide our users with that faster user experience. We ship all of our products from our UK warehouse today. Which means logistics is actually a very key success factor for us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And in terms of brands, so you have global brands and local brands?
Right. So most of our brands are global brands, are foreign brands. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. And so what type of products sell best? What type of
I think in order to answer this question, let me just explain a bit more about our customers to your
yeah.
audience. So since we are an independent e-retailer that operates through the cross-border model, and we also ship from the UK warehouse, this means that there are quite a bit, not quite a bit, but there are more hurdles compared to China domestic platforms when a customer shops on our platform. So these hurdles include a higher free shipping threshold and also a longer delivery time. So having said that, most of our customers are extremely sophisticated and very demanding. They're probably amongst the most demanding customers in China. They are usually at the forefront of the trends, not only just within China, but also overseas globally. And they're very knowledgeable about brands, about ingredients. And most importantly, they're also quite price sensitive. So if you keep this in mind, I would say the brands and products that sell the best on our platform can be divided into three categories. So the first category is brands that are very well known and established globally. Where Feelunique has a price advantage versus the China platform. So these are the brands that are similar to Caudalie or The Ordinary. The second group is brands that have gained popularity overseas, but are not necessarily accessible in China. Now, in today's world, these brands have become less and less because once they've reached that stage overseas, they more likely to have that financial resource to be able to find a TP in China, and they will decide to launch on Tmall flagship. But the brands that I have in mind are brands like Charlotte Tilbury and Huda Beauty before they officially enter the Chinese market.
Yes. Yeah.
The last brand are actually, the group is actually quite interesting. These are the very, very niche brands that to be fair, I had never heard of outside of Feelunique, but they do fulfill a very specific need in the market. And they also have very few competitors in the market. So two examples I can give you is the first brand is called Hydrea London. So Hydrea London is a body brush brand. So I think within the last year, this dry brushing concept in China to exfoliate your body has become very, very popular. Yeah. And Hydrea London produces some very high quality dry brushes. So we've actually seen this brand's performance increase multiple folds within the last couple of months. And the second brand I have to mention is a brand called Medicate, a skincare brand. So why this brand is special is they have a very clear and focused brand philosophy, which is called the CSA philosophy. So this philosophy stands for vitamin C plus sunscreen by day and vitamin A by night. So it's not necessarily a new concept because a lot of
No.
skincare brands play it, yeah. But the
Mm-hmm.
difference is Medicaid really focuses on it. Anything that and everything that they do is surrounding this CSA philosophy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
So
really
these are
interesting.
the
Those
three.
three different, yeah, the three different buckets. It's interesting. Obviously, you have so many brands on your platform, so it's not
Right.
surprising. But it's great also to see those smaller brands if they've got the right niching. You know, that if they're really targeted, then they can do well. And
Right.
presumably that's in terms of marketing and brands need to find a way to sort of develop themselves in China. That's another issue, isn't it? That brands have to get over.
Yeah, so yeah, exactly. So to the last brands that I mentioned, they're quite small, they're quite niche. I was surprised how people in China or our customers would be able to discover these brands. But then again, it goes back to my point on being, our customers are some of the most sophisticated and knowledgeable beauty shoppers in China. So, they are always looking at Instagram, even though it's blocked, Instagram, YouTube, they're always looking at different information to do that research.
Okay, that's really interesting. And what would you say for brands coming in, what's the biggest challenge for them in terms of cross-border e-commerce?
The biggest challenge, is getting the brand awareness out there. I think, at least from what I've seen, and actually we do, the most brands that we work with are niche brands that don't really have awareness in China. The biggest challenge for them is having the resources, financial or a team, to be able to really build out that awareness in China. And I think a lot of the brands have, less so now, but a lot of the brands have this misconception of the minute I enter China, that means I get money in my bank. But it's really, it's so difficult. It's a very complicated market. It just doesn't work like that. So yeah, so finding the right partner, really having that patience to focus on your vision and your goal.
Yeah, and I think that also goes back to your point before about if you've got a product that is very specific and you can really explain it very easily, you have a lot of traction in your home market. As you said, the more sophisticated consumers are looking at international platforms like Instagram. If you're getting cut through there and it's a simple proposition, a star product, then you're already like a whole, it makes the whole thing a lot easier, right? Than trying to build a brand from scratch.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. And obviously, then the next stage of challenge is, how do you drive that excitement? How do you sustain that excitement? And how do you continue to drive that newness? What you're seeing is there are many, many local brands in China. They have the budget. They understand completely what the Chinese consumers want. They're able to turn over new product development in a matter of 1 or 2 months. So again, for small brands entering this market, you really have to be clear about what you present to the customers, what you represent to the customers, and be clear about what your goal is.
Yeah, and I think it's about also being ruthless, right? You have a huge product line, and they're all these products are your babies, probably. I talk to brand founders all the time, and they love so many different things, and they're talking about it for different consumer groups, and I totally understand. But if your resources are limited and a market like China is so big, you really do need to pick one thing, I think, to hero, and it sounds like that's worked with some of your brands, so that's good to hear.
That's absolutely right.
So I guess on to like any more advice for brands coming in. What would you think they should look at or think about?
Advice. I've got a couple. I think the most important is to find the right business partner. But also at the same time, not only just business partner, but also having the right team internally to be able to be the brand champions, to be able to manage the business partner. So, there are so many ways to enter China nowadays. There, you can find your own distributor, you can work with a TP, you can even partner with us with the e-retailer platform like Feelunique. But the thing is, you really have to do your research, not just be blindsided by the sales figures, sales potentials that anybody represent to you, but do your research to find the right partner that has the same vision, strategy, and goals as your brand. And I mentioned, I think even more importantly is to have the right internal team members that are knowledgeable about the market, that can be the brand ambassadors and to help you, manage whatever partner that you end up finding.
Yeah, I think that's the really tricky thing, isn't it? With smaller brands, especially because they don't think about the setup. They think about the partner, of course, because, to work on most of these platforms, you have to have a partner, right? But then they don't have the internal resources to sort of back that up. And China moves so fast, and you need assets, and you need content, and you need so that's tough.
Yeah. And the thing is, I think what a lot of brands, when they find partners, of course, there's English-speaking team members in the partners team, but a lot of times it's so much more than just the language, right? It's the culture, and to your point, it's how fast China moves. So it's really important to have that right team.
Yeah. Okay. And anything else in terms of advice?
I think really just be prepared to invest the time and money. Like I said, it doesn't, entering China doesn't equal to instant revenue or profit. It takes time to be able to build a long-term strategy that allows you to be successful in the market in the long run. Now, you could be a brand that maybe only are looking at the short-term benefits, then sure. But I think no matter what the strategy is, you have to be prepared to spend the time and money before you reap the benefits. I think my last advice is to not get distracted by any quick wins, because there is no such thing as quick wins in China. You have to stay grounded to what your brand stands for in order for that sustainable growth for the brand.
Yes, and there are so many sort of stories where people have been burnt with China, aren't there? I mean, you always hear a brand that they've been in one way or another, and someone's offered them the world, and it just hasn't ended up being anything like that. So I think your point about quick wins is a really good one. Like it's unfortunately, even in at the moment where China is looking like a bright spot on the global in the global retail landscape, I think it is, it's definitely performing better than most other markets, but at the same time, you still need to have that commitment to it. And, you'll see that benefit in a year or in maybe a couple of years, but you need to invest now first, right?
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. And so thinking about, obviously the Chinese beauty market it's about to be the biggest beauty market in the world. It's at the moment second to the US, and it's so dynamic and there's so much going on. I mean, from your perspective, what sort of trends or things that you've seen recently that you think brands really should know about?
It's such a difficult question. I think you also mentioned that the market changes so fast. A lot of the times, the second you feel like you have the market figured out, something changes. It could be the regulations, as we've seen. They're thinking about eliminating animal testing. It could be like a new game, Animal Crossing, that's just all of a sudden blowing off the charts, where all the brands are spending their marketing dollars on this one game. So I think obviously there is the trend of clean beauty to be watched, especially with animal testing rule being eliminated in the near future. In terms of this, I do think the sophistication level and the awareness level in terms of clean beauty amongst the Chinese consumer aren't quite there yet. I think it might be another year or 18 months. But it's not too late to sort of start the homework, start your research, start your homework to be the market entry player in that front. But I think what the one trend that is happening for sure is the sophistication of Chinese consumers. With globalization, with any brand, any good old brand, not just beauty, but any brand in the world trying to woo the Chinese customers, they've really become very sophisticated and demanding when it comes to, how does the product or the brand benefit me? How does it make me stand out among my friends, or how does the brand represent my values? So you've seen with some of the fashion brands, the types of marketing activations they've done.
Yep.
It really makes a huge impact. And I think a couple years ago, if a brand has the marketing dollars to spend on celebrities, they can leverage the celebrity power and become quite successful. But now, a brand really needs to be clear on what it is, what is the need that it fulfills for the Chinese customers, and be focused on this, not just focused on the celebrities, so that, they can truly address this need, or whether or not the brand fulfills a sentimental value, or how does it improve the consumer's general well-being.
Yeah, I mean, I think definitely with the research that I've done around clean and natural brands, and how I agree with you in terms of it's still not mainstream by any means. We're not talking like the US or Australia where it's already pretty mainstream. In China, you've got a small subset of people that are looking at it, and I think that's growing. And I think because of COVID, you've got a sort of healthy beauty, which is something that people are more interested in. So they are looking more at the ingredients. But yeah, I think the sophistication of the consumer, you totally said it. Like it's astounding the amount of information because also they like consuming information, right? Like I think more so than the West, and reading about what's behind the brand, what's in the product, where does it come from? I think they're so knowledgeable.
And I love to use this. I've said it so many times that it's almost become cliche for myself, but McKinsey China did a research whereby the average Chinese consumer requires 8 touch points before they make a purchase, whereas overseas it's only 4. So it's really the level of information that they consume is tremendous.
Yeah, and that's a really sort of very concrete tip for brands. Like when you come in, you think you've got enough assets or enough copy, you don't. Like you definitely don't.
You don't.
You need to like double or triple what you use elsewhere, so the consumer can see your product from every angle, and to your point, more touch points, more references, more to feel more secure about making that purchase. I think.
And that's why now celebrities and the big KOLs, obviously they still do have the power of the influencing power, but now the KOCs, the key opinion consumers, the micro level KOLs have become more influential, and therefore they charge more as well, because the customers are demanding for more information. They're demanding for more angles, more channels and more opinions about a certain product and certain brand before they actually make that purchase decision.
Yeah, exactly. All right, well, I think we could talk all day. It's a very interesting topic, but I think we'll leave it there. And if people want to get in touch with you, I guess LinkedIn is the best way to connect with you. Yep. I'll put the details below, and so people can find you there if they want to continue the conversation.
Thank you so much for having me, Ali.
Thanks.